Got it. Recording in progress. I am admitting 34 people. Admit all. Here they come. Welcome, welcome.
Hello. That's a lot of boxes.
All for you. The waiting room is just growing. Let's see. Admit all again.
Hello, beautiful friends. My beautiful
Oh my gosh, I
friends.
love.
Hello.
Haley's got company in the window. Hi.
Oh my goodness, two Alabama hearts right
I know.
there.
All
Big heart.
Alabama. There's Allison. Look at all these people. Donna showing her beautiful face.
Allison, I have your flowers right here. Thank you so much. Regina's here. Imelda, all the way from Ireland, is here. Trish Hopkins. Oh my gosh.
Look at Nickole. Hi,
Nickole Callahan.
Mwah.
Wow. Haley, I thought you were in the river today, cleaning up trash in that old river in Alabama. Wow, that's awesome. How's everybody's Earth Day? Well, y'all can't talk.
But feel free to use the chat. Use the chat. We've got Miami. We've got Virginia. Use that chat to show us your love and to show us your love for the earth and for Kai, mothering us and the earth all the time. Oh.
Happy Passover, Donna. Sending you so much love. Thank you for being here. Betty Brown, Hot Springs is representing.
Kentucky's in the house. Hey, Miss Marianne.
Kentucky. I love you, Nickole.
Okay, so we're gonna start late just because.
Hi, Vicky.
Waiting room. Woo! All these people, friends.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's still growing. There's just more and more.
Oh, this is just the first screen. Oh my goodness. Wow, there's 3 screens of faces. Oh, you all, my heart. Oh, my heart is just exploding with gratitude seeing all of you. Zoe and Sarah and Jane. Oh, Jane, you're here. Oh, quiver. My heart just, oh, I'm a hummingbird right now. And Meg. Oh my gosh.
Hi, Rosalie.
So many beautiful faces. While it's filling up, why don't we say what we've done today for Earth Day? What did you all do? Anything special? Andrea, what'd you do today?
Oh, I have course fed some squirrels some nuts. I have some squirrel friends, and I sat on the porch and out in the sun and edited my partner's memoir. And after this, I'm gonna go on a little hike with the dogs. Lots of earthy stuff.
Yeah. I went on a hike with our dog. I hugged a really big old oak tree, took a picture with some flowers. I practiced my poems outside in the sun, and a little jumping spider jumped onto my page and was my audience for like half an hour. And I was like, this is so perfect. And so that's been my day so far. Angelique, I know that it's a special day, not just because it's Earth Day, but it's because it is your birthday. So give some birthday love. Angelique Zobitz, y'all, in the house.
Yeah, and I got an opportunity to take a really, really good long walk and enjoy the sunshine and just like feel the breeze move in Chicago. And I'm gonna open the patio doors in a little bit and let the breeze come through the house.
Angelique, I love
that the sun is shining.
You look like a daffodil sitting there.
It's true.
And I'm wearing my favorite bright and sunny color. So it's definitely a theme.
Love it.
Yeah.
Is a daffodil the same as a buttercup?
They're a similar color, different flower.
They're different flowers.
Yeah.
Different flower.
Yeah. Buttercups are tiny.
Yeah, and they have like, they're almost like a champagne coupe, whereas a daffodil has like a flute in the middle.
So since it's Earth Day, I'm just going to throw out a question. What's your favorite flower? Name a flower that is your favorite, like your spirit flower. For me, it's lilac, which isn't really a flower. It's a flowering bush. Oh, I love the chat's going off. Tulip.
Oh, wow. It sure is.
You got it.
Tulip, lily, Virginia bluebells.
Oh my gosh, I just learned what Virginia bluebells were from my run. They grow everywhere in Ohio.
I love the common blue violet only because I recently found out that it is also called the lesbian flower. Like that's one of its historic names. And so I don't think I can like any more flower better than the common blue violet, aka the lesbian flower. I have a poem about it. It's in the book.
You also showed it to me on your land. Do you remember we were walking around and you showed me and told me about the lesbian violet, and I loved it all the more.
The lesbian
women
violet.
were not allowed to look at orchids in Victorian times.
They weren't allowed to look at them
because they're too labial.
Yes, they weren't supposed to look at them. They were a little too.
Wow.
Wow.
My
too
goodness.
Real, too risque.
Whatever would we think of?
Flower. Yeah.
James, what's yours?
I love so many flowers. I have so many poems about flowers. The one that comes to mind is the Mexican sunflower, Tithonia. I don't know if you guys know that one, but it's a little bit smaller than a regular sunflower and usually like really bright orange. The pollinators love them. I'll read a poem that features one a little later, but they're beautiful. I'm really loving the wildflowers right now, though. It's a very slow spring here in Vermont where I live. So we have coltsfoot, we have trout lilies, and not much else that's actually blooming.
I love where you're taking us, James. Let's all name the wildflowers that are blooming in our neck of the woods right now. Y'all know any? We've got lady slippers, jack in the pulpits, baby blue eyes. Let's see what else is out there. There's lots of, we actually had a poppy, even though it's not a native, that just came up. Can't think of any other ones. Those are the big ones right now.
We are going to give it, I will just say 3 more minutes and start at 6:10 because this waiting room is just constantly filling and filling with more beautiful flowers / people. So start at 6:10. And if anyone else wants to answer about their flowers, I love the answers are really coming.
Yeah, so I don't know which wildflower flowers are blooming right now in Chicago, but my favorite flower is the sweet pea, mostly because it looks very delicate, but it's a very hardy plant. It finds its way in growing as a vine across many things. It thrives where it is, and it can make a lot out of a little.
Love that.
I kind of blanked out on the wildflowers, but I just looked at my photos from the hike earlier, and there's all kinds of purple ones that are in bloom right now, like the spiderworts and the phlox, bunch of phloxes that are different colors. And it's interesting. Like we were hiking, and I was like, what makes flowers different colors? Like, don't you ever wonder like why flowers are different colors? Like what makes them yellow? What makes them, some of them red? What makes some of them purple? And Joanne was like, well, it's a vibration. Like it's a ray, it's an energy. And that's just such an interesting thing to think about, like why they're different colors. That's kind of what this whole book is, that it's just an observational journey that I've taken or that I took, noticing stuff. I've become a really big noticer and looking close at stuff and slowing down and asking questions. I gotta slow my little heart down right now because it's so excited to see all of you.
Well, this is a wonderful place to begin. Kai, I'm really quick going to see if I can make you a co-host so that while I'm if the waiting room, we get more people in, I'm making you a co-host so you can keep letting them in while I'm introducing. And
I
then
can do that.
You don't have to do anything else. I will take over all of the rest of the things. So I'm going to keep us on. I'm going to quickly spotlight myself. Strangely, here I am. Oh my goodness. Spotlit for all of you. Welcome everybody to an incredibly special Words Together, Worlds Apart on the theme of the earth, with generous support from Denison University, where I am faculty. And this is no ordinary reading, as all of you know, because today we are celebrating the launch of Kai Coggin's remarkable 5th collection of poems. It's right here. I don't know if you can hold it yet. I'll put in links if you haven't gotten yours, but look right there. It's so beautiful. Like just the smell, the scent. Okay, I'll stop, doing with the book that are inappropriate for public ears and eyes. But Mother of Other Kingdoms from Harbor Editions. And there's no more fitting time to celebrate Kai's work than a day celebrating not just our planet, but protecting her at all costs. The first Earth Day was celebrated in 1970 when a U.S. senator from Wisconsin organized a national demonstration to raise awareness about environmental issues. And so too, Kai's work raises awareness. It calls us to action and creates community. Her poems and her person transform us, as so many of you know from firsthand experience. She is joined today by 4 other incredible poets: Nickole Brown, James Cruz, Andrea Gibson, and Angelique Zobitz, whose birthday it is also today. So happy birthday, Angelique. Yay. What a beautiful life entering the world sort of day. So as is tradition, the host will begin with a poem of their own and a writing prompt to inspire you. So here is your prompt, and I'll put it in the chat as well. There is no shortage of suffering in our modern world, and it seems only to be growing exponentially. From the harm we inflict on our planet to the harm we inflict upon one another. So the question we find ourselves asking is, why continue to write, to create? Why make life in the face of such catastrophe? And although poetry doesn't give us answers, it gives us room to ask questions. So I invite you to write a poem that asks a pressing question about why continue to do something in the face of adversity. Why make art? Why sing? Why go out in nature? And as Kai said, look closely. In the poem, turn to both the news and the natural world. Let them ebb and flow between one another. Try to write a poem in couplets. And here is a poem of mine from 40 Weeks called Why Have Children When the World is Ending? So here we go. Why have children when the world is ending? Killer whales have stopped reproducing. Polar bears are eating their cubs. Koalas abandon their young, breathless, nose low to the brush to keep from choking on rising smoke. They run towards the thousands, pounds of food we airdropped where Earth stopped burning or flames just hadn't reached yet. Guilt for our part in this end, or fear it would come for us the same. We tell ourselves everything wants to survive, believe in life as circle, not line, in karma if it means our endurance. We spread stories about wombats herding animals into their burrows, kangaroos hugging their rescuers, or foxes feeding baby bears uncharred Kandai milk. But animals know to rely on no one. Their own scathed hides and carcasses pile the roadside along bus routes to the local preschool. The children we chose to have must fight, gagging at the smell. My infant daughter screams at us for plugging the bulb syringe deep into her nostril. She exhales snot mixed with my milk, screams again, then sleeps. She doesn't know we have made this quiet possible. She turns her head away where breathing comes easiest and reaches for a warm body as soon as she can smell it close. She doesn't know the coral reefs are dead and sargassum reeks in mounds along Caribbean coastline. Starfish suffocated under its spreading. And maybe this is why we've made her, because she doesn't know survival is in our hands, forgives us their indiscretions, and lets us hold her body as though it were a world we could still save. And so now to our main event. We're going to go in alphabetical order with each of our beautiful readers reading for about 10 minutes to introduce Kai. Well, not introduce, but to, you know, open up for her. And then we will have our headliner, Kai, read from her new book. So our first reader is Nickole Brown, author of Sister, a novel in poems, and Fanny Says, a biography in poems about her grandmother that won the Weatherford Award for Appalachian Poetry. She lives in Asheville, North Carolina, where she volunteers at several animal sanctuaries. To Those Who Are Our First Gods, a chapbook of poems about these animals, won the 2018 Rattle Prize, and her essay in poems, The Donkey Elegies, was published by Sibling Rivalry Press in 2020. She teaches at the Swanee School of Letters Low Residency MFA and is president of an annual environmental literary festival called Hellbender Gathering of Poets. You can find her books in all the usual places, but if you're thinking of going to Amazon, please try an indie bookstore first, which goes for every book you buy. What a great call, Nickole. Should you want to buy a copy of her chapbook about animals, you can find it directly through Rattle Magazine. I'm going to put all the links in the chat. And just today, she was awarded the Academy of American Poets Treehouse Prize, which is so exciting. So congratulations. Welcome, Nickole. Let me make sure that you can unmute. Can you unmute yourself? No. Oh no, I've made you spotlight and now I can't ask you to unmute. One sec. Ask to unmute and now I'll make you spotlight. You know, the qualms of hosting.
Thank you so much. And oh my gosh, if I have a book launch, Julia, I'm calling on you, your enthusiasm and your warmth, and you got us all here together and filling up that chat. It's always so nice. And what a good way to celebrate Earth Day than to be among these voices, because the question that you're asking in that prompt, Julia, is something that I ask myself all the time. It's something that I ask all of my students, is how to move forward in this time, even if you don't consider yourself a nature poet, an eco poet. It's going to inform your work. And you know, you have to think about how to get out of bed and how to write. I've thought of reading a lot of different things, but because it is Earth Day, I'm going to go back to an older poem. And some of you guys have probably heard me read this before, but it's one that I hold to a lot, because, you know, there's a lot of talk about hope. And I really think about that word a lot. And I think about it as a verb, and what that can mean if we move forward with hope, regardless of what we feel. But this is about a different word, and that word is mercy. And I'll just be reading one poem, and then I'm going to hand it over to these amazing people I'm sharing this space with. So this piece is called Mercy. Speak, beast, speak. Curled suburban cuddle in front of the fireplace, possum dreaming and paw kicking, your fur a tumbleweed down the waxed hallway, your ears cropped and your tail docked. Speak. Or how about you? Yes, you, spotted neck stretched towards what's left of your acacia trees, neck as long as a man's grave is deep. I need you to fire that impossible distance between your heart and tongue, and speak. Speak, you barred owls with the pink tip of a poisoned mouse dangling from your beak, all your many neck bones hinged in one spot so you can pivot your blinking face to me. I am watching, I am waiting, look at me and speak. Speak, you black snake drowsing on the hot black top, your forked tongue remembering the long kiss of voles in tall grass, a memory gone when the woman runs over you, then twice again, just to be sure. I need you to speak. Speak, you jittering squirrels, you murder of crows, you choral of sparrows, you pitying of turtle doves, you everyday outside flick of life at the mercy of these coming winds, these rising waters, filthy and licking with flames. Speak, sing to me, call and fuss among what brittle branches left. I have opened my windows, I am listening. Speak, you hellbender, giant salamander, you are a rarity now put on educational display. You eel-looking haint once pulled up by fishermen in these mountains. Speak, because no one knows who you are anymore. You must make us remember. Turn your slack maw to my tapping on the bent plexiglass and speak. Say what it is you need to say. Oh, and you with your thick skull blown apart with a high caliber swagger, your memory long and your once trumpeting gone, speak to me from beyond. Tell me what it was to have those ears of yours in fury, raised like giant gray flags, how hard you fought, and even once shot, how you just stood there, confused, already dead, but refusing to fall until your knees buckled, the rest of you slumped, and the great pillars of your tusks were chainsawed from your face. I need to hear especially from you. I have a photo here of a man grinning with your lopped off tail in his fist. I need you to speak, damn it, speak. Say what it is you need to say. Or how about you? Kin but safe in a cage. I heard your placid chewing at the zoo. You took a sweet potato from my hand with the wet breathing end of your trunk, slid it into the deep socket of your mouth. I know that sound. I smiled at your keeper, fed you another treat, but now I need for you to speak. Try it. Swallow down that food and flex your tongue, push out the grassy air from those miraculous lungs. I am waiting. We are all waiting. I am begging. Please, beast, speak. We are running out of time. There are so many of us, and what's left of you are swaying in pins, rocking from side to side, sleeping and aching and craving and thinking. I know you are thinking, but not saying a damn word. No, not one, which is all we need. I swear, all of you. You birds and cicadas, all you flying, leaping, vine-grabbing canopy beings, all you furred and quilled things too, or you chittering in your burrows and hiding in the dark, step from the mouths of your den and speak. Listen to me. You belong here. You with a mouth full of milk, with dirt under your claws, all of you rooting and panting and hibernating and ruminating and standing by the fence, watching us speed past in our cars. Listen to me. I need you to try. Try to say just one word. We can start slow with the low pleasure sound, the delicious that closes the door to home. Then growl out that middle vowel and what comes after. Let the back of your throat issue forth a warning and mean it. Get angry with me because you had enough, because if you don't find these sounds, there will be nothing left. Now, you're almost there. Pull back your lips if you have them. Show your teeth if you have them. Hiss, let out all the air, whatever air is left, and in doing so, take us back to all our beginnings with the sound of waves, with that final syllable, C. Now, try again. Try again. Try, please try, all at once. It's such a small word on which your lives depend. I'll do anything. Please, beast, speak. Say it with me now. Mercy, 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 mercy. Now, please, try again. Repeat after me.
Thank you so much. I feel like we need to see the room. Look, everybody, it's sensational. Thank you for opening us up so gorgeously, Nickole. Next up, we are going to hear from James Cruz, who is the author of the essay collection, Kindness Will Save the World, and editor of several best-selling poetry anthologies, including The Wonder of Small Things, Healing the Divide, The Path to Kindness, and How to Love the World, which has over 100,000 copies in print. That's insane. He has been featured on NPR's Morning Edition and in People Magazine, the Boston Globe, the New York Times, the Sun, and the Washington Post. It would be easier to list where he hasn't been featured. James lives with his husband in the woods of southern Vermont. To sign up for free weekly poems and prompts, visit the website I'm going to put in the chat. And to order copies of his poems, also please visit the website I'm going to put in the chat. Welcome, James.
Thank you so much, Julia. I agree with Nickole about your enthusiasm. I just want to bring you everywhere, please. And what a pleasure to be sharing space with so many poetry heroes. And I mean the people who are reading as well as the people who are here with us listening. Just so many heroes. And thanks so much to Nickole for putting us under the spell of poetry and a love for the world. I had the chance to go before Nickole, and I'm now thinking I should have taken that chance. It's a tough act to follow. Well, thank you all again for coming here to help us celebrate Kai's new book, Mother of Other Kingdoms. It is a beautiful, beautiful book, and a new book by Kai is always a cause for celebration. So I'm so thrilled to be here. I want to start with the Mexican sunflower poem that I mentioned earlier. And I like to offer this poem usually as a blessing at the beginning of readings because it sort of swept through me at a time when I needed to hear it. So I think that I was writing it to myself and for myself. And it's, you know, since gone out into the world as one hopes poetry does to touch some other lives. And I recently heard from a grandmother who has a trans grandchild who's having a tough time right now, that she gave them a copy of this poem and they now carry it in their pocket and take it out to read when they need a reminder. So I can think of no better compliment than that. The world loves you back. Even if no one ever touched you with the tenderness you once needed, believe that the world's been holding you in its arms since the day you were born. You are not an accident or afterthought. Let rain on the roof remind you. Let sun on the skin or the neon orange of a Mexican sunflower at which a hummingbird pauses to drink. There are so many ways to hold and be held, and you could spend your whole life tallying them up without ever reaching the end of the list. So I think we need all kinds of poetry, especially all kinds of earth poetry. And I feel like my little corner of the poetry world is to try to appreciate what we have, to really try to honor what's here and lift that up and celebrate it. So oftentimes my poems tend not to deal with some of the darker and more difficult stuff in the world, but I do think that's often in the background, and there is this sense of wanting to appreciate things while I'm here on this planet and while this planet is still here too. And this next poem came from a quote that a friend sent me by Tony Hoagland from his poem Jet. And the quote is, "We would give anything for what we have." And there were two surprises that came from this piece. The first one was how quickly I wrote something from that amazing quote. It just like set a fire in me, and I had to explore that. So if you're looking for another prompt, Julia's was amazing, so please explore that one. But if you're looking for another prompt, just start with that quote and see where that takes you. The second surprise of this poem was the appearance of Scrooge McDuck of DuckTales fame. I never thought that I would write a poem with Scrooge McDuck in it, but he really wanted to be in the poem for some reason. And so I left him in this poem. And this is really just about, you know, we walk through life so often not noticing things, not always appreciating them. And this really just is a reminder to myself to slow down and just really take in life while it's here. And this is Ordinary Evening. We would give anything for what we have, though it's easy to forget while swimming in our own good luck. Like that cartoon duck I once loved to watch, backstroking through his vault filled with treasure and coins. Someday, I know I'll stand at the counter of the pawn shop of loss, bargaining for just one more ordinary evening of walking with my husband after work. Our boots scuffing gravel roads softening into spring, and a flock of red-winged blackbirds trilling to each other in the upper reaches of a tree we pass beneath, barely noticing those golden notes pouring down all around us. So sometimes I wonder why I write such vulnerable work, because it's really hard to get through certain things without going into tears. But I think we established in the beginning that tears are okay during this reading. So for anyone who's reading or listening, if you're in tears, it's fine. It's really okay. Next poem I want to share is takes its title from the very famous Mary Oliver quote. Something like, you know, when it's over, I want to say that I was a bride married to amazement. And then we often kind of don't hear the second part of that, which is, I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. So I love that she was both bride and bridegroom, and that she includes, you know, to be married to amazement, we have to have the action of actually going out and feeling amazed and allowing ourselves to feel wonder and awe for the world. And my husband is a farmer here in Vermont, and so he's been a great teacher of how to just how to feel awe for everyday things, and especially with the natural world. He doesn't always love that I write about his childlike gasps and awe for the world. Doesn't like to be described that way, but that's just the way he is, and I think it's a beautiful thing. So this poem is called Married to Amazement. After our wedding, the man I married sat down next to me, After our wedding, the man I married sat down next to me, October light pouring in over dusty pews as he loosened his tie, then sipped from a cup of apple cider, closing both eyes to savor the taste. Now I think I didn't marry him so much as his amazement for the everyday, the way he still gasps each time we see something new, a baby painted turtle plodding through an old stream in the quarry, or the neon orange of a caterpillar inching across crisp leaves on the trail. How he kneels with his phone to film it from every angle, while I crouch beside him, in awe of his awe, learning all that I can. So I think I want to leave it there in a place of awe, because I'm in awe of all of you and in awe of the amazement that is Kai Coggin and her work. So thank you all for listening.
Well, thank you for letting us all know it's okay to cry, because that one really got me there, James. So beautiful. And I just keep picturing the way my kids are amazed by every little thing and how they teach me this same sense of amazement. Hold in that amazing tenderness. Thank you, James. Our next reader is Andrea Gibson, a queer author of 5 full-length collections of poetry, including Lord of the Butterflies from Button Poetry, which sold over 20,000 copies worldwide. She's the winner of the Independent Publishers Award in 2019. Andrea is also 3-time Goodreads Choice Award finalist and was recently named Poet Laureate of Colorado. We've got 2 Poet Laureates in the house reading. What a place. Also the winner of the Women's World Poetry Slam. Gibson has gone on to be featured on the BBC, Air America, C-SPAN, and regularly sells out large capacity venues all over the world. Gibson has also released 7 full-length albums of spoken word poetry. Their most recent book, You Better Be Lightning, is now available. Please welcome Andrea.
I have been crying for beauty all day, and now I'm just a freaking wreck. Oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm I don't know how I'm going to get through my poems. I don't even know if mine aren't cry poems, but I think I'm going to cry through them because I'm going to still be living in the poems that I heard before. Thank you for that, y'all. That was gorgeous. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I'm so emotional now, what's new for me, really. It's lovely to be here. Kai is one of my favorite people on the planet. I don't know if I've ever known a kinder human. I don't know if I've ever known somebody who cares so much about community. And I'm going to cry again. And lifting other poets up, young poets, old poets, all poets, like just somebody that is just, when you can really feel the texture of somebody's heart and they're not just in the world for themselves. And I've felt that since the first day I met Kai. So I have so many feelings right now. We would give anything for what we have. I cannot stop. That line is just like bowling me over. Okay, I'm gonna read some poems. Thanks for having me here, y'all. This is lovely, lovely company to be in. This is an older poem, but I guess it's in my most recent book. When I first wrote it, I think I just sort of screamed it the whole time, but this is called, I'm going to try to be a little softer today. This is called Homesick, a Plea for Our Planet. In the 5th, excuse me, I have a frog in my throat, which is fitting because it's Earth Day. The creatures are allowed in my throat today, the good ones. Okay. In the 5th grade, I won the science fair with a project on climate change that featured a papier-mâché ozone layer with a giant hole to which a papier-mâché sun burned the skin of a Barbie in a bikini on a lawn chair, glaciers melting like ice cubes in her lemonade. It was 1987 in a town that could have invented the Republican Party, but the school principal gave me a gold ribbon and not a single bit of attitude about my radical political stance because neither he nor I knew it was a political stance. Science had not yet been fully framed as leftist propaganda. I spent that summer, as I had every summer before, racing to the forest behind my house down the path my father called the old logging road to a meadow thick with raspberry bushes whose thorns were my very first heroes because they did nothing with their life but protect what was sweet. Sundays I went to church, but struggled to call it prayer if it didn't leave grass stains on my knees. Couldn't call it truth if it didn't come with a dare to crawl into the cave by the creek and stay there until somebody counted all the way to 100. As a kid, I thought 100 was the biggest number there was. My mother absolutely blew my mind the day she said 101. 100 and what? Billionaires never grow out of doing that same math with years, can't conceive of counting past their own lifespans, believe the world ends the day they do. Why are the keys to our future in the hands of those who have the longest commutes from their heads to their hearts, whose greed is the smog that keeps us from seeing our own nature and the sweetness we are here to protect? Do you know sometimes when gathering nectar, bees fall asleep in flowers? Do you know fish are so sensitive, snowflakes sound like fireworks when they land on the water? Do you know whales will follow their injured friends to shore, often taking their own lives so to not let their loved ones be alone when they die? None of this is poetry. It is just the earth being who she is, in spite of us stamping barcodes on the sea, in spite of us acting like Edison invented daylight. Dawn presses her blushing face to my window, asks me if I know the records in my record collection look like the insides of trees. Yes, I say, there is nothing you have ever grown that isn't music. You were the bamboo that made Coltrane's saxophone read, the mulberries that fed the silkworms that made the slippers for the ballet, the pine that built the loom that wove the hemp for Frida Kahlo's canvas, the roses that dyed her paint, hoping her brush could bleed for her body. Who more than the earth has bled for us? Why don't we mold our hearts after the first spruce tree who raised her hand and begged to be cut into piano keys so the elephants could keep their tusks? The earth is the right side of history, is the canyon my friend ran to when no one else he knew would echo his chosen name back to him, is the wind that wailed through 1956 Alabama until the poplar trees carved themselves into Dr. King's pulpit, is the volcano that poured the mercury into our thermometers. The earth takes our temperature, tells us when we are too hot, even after we've spent decades denying her fever, our hands held to her burning forehead. We insist she is fine, while wildfires turn redwoods to toothpicks, readying the teeth of the apocalypse. She sent a smoke signal all the way from California to New York City. Ash fell from the sky. Do you know the mountains of California used to look like they'd been set on fire because they were so covered in monarch butterflies? Do you know monarch butterflies migrate 3,000 miles using only the fuel they stored as caterpillars in the cocoon? We need so much less than we take. We owe so much more than we give. Squirrels plant thousands of trees every year just from forgetting where they left their acorns. If we aim to be just half as good as one of the earth's mistakes, we could turn so much around. Our living would be seed. The future would have roots. We would cast nothing from the garden of itself, and we would make the thorns proud. I want to, that just riled me up to read. I want to share just a little writing prompt for you. So I think of facts as the most incredible writing prompts in the world. Like you could fit everyone on the planet inside the city of Los Angeles if they stood side by side. It rains diamonds on Jupiter. I think I'm about to say that in the next poem, actually. But you know, the fact squirrels plant thousands of trees every year just from forgetting where they left their acorns. And I found out that my friend Ciara Freeman was writing on that same fact at the same time that I was, and we had no idea. And what she wrote was, squirrels plant thousands of trees every year just from forgetting where they left their acorns. I dream I could make a garden of everything I have ever lost. I freaking love that line so much. And so what's really amazing is if you're ever doing workshops with youth, especially stubborn youth who don't want to write, facts can get them really excited, and it's really fun to see where different students take different facts. Okay, so and I love that you were talking about Mary Oliver's line, "A bride married to amazement." I was writing about it recently, and one of the things that I've been thinking about lately is to not file for divorce from amazement when life is hard. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges, and also the blessing of poets, where it's almost our job to be amazed, to pay attention and to be amazed, and to be amazed still when everything is falling apart, because I genuinely believe that awe could save the world. I've never felt awe and hatred at the same time, awe and loneliness at the same time, awe and bitterness or shame. I've never felt awe and shame at the same time. And I think that shame was gone from this world. Can you imagine how different the world would be if shame wasn't around? Anyway, so I'm gonna just end on a poem about awe. And this came from a writing prompt from my partner, who is always giving me great writing prompts. And she gave me the prompt to write an acceptance speech for a fictional award, which was really fun. And I just sat there. And so I wrote acceptance speech after setting the world record in Goosebumps. And I'm constantly changing this poem on the fly, as you'll hear. I'm always like getting some new goosebumps. So here we go. I wasn't by any means a natural, was not one of those wow hounds born jaw dropped. I was tough in the husk, went years untouched by rain, took shelter seriously, even and often, especially in good weather. My tears like teenagers hiding under the hoods of my eyes, so committed they were to never falling for the joke of astonishment. When I was told there were 7 wonders of the world, I trusted the math, y'all, believed I had seen none of them. Of course, beauty hunted me. It hunts everyone, but I outran it, hid in worry, regret, the promise of an afterlife or a week's end. Then one day, in a red velvet theater in New Orleans, I watched Maya Angelou walk on stage, 17 slow steps to the mic. She took a breath. God, I'm getting goosebumps right now saying it because I'm remembering this moment so intense. She took a breath before speaking. I could hear God being born in that breath. My every pore reached out like a hand, pointing to the first unsinkable lotus in the bayou of the universe. I had never felt anything like it. Searched the encyclopedia for the feeling's name when I got home. Goosebumps. Afterwards, I thought, well, I can do this. Started training morning to night, crowbar swinging like a pendulum at the wall of my chest, tore the caution tape off my life and let everything touch it, man. Some of those years I was dirt broke, but it cost nothing to pay attention. Caitlin Clark on the television in her last season with the Hawkeyes, crossover sharp as a V of sparrows, flying through the paint like Michelangelo's brush, 222 goosebumps. My baby sister sober for the first time in 13 years, calling to tell me she just noticed our mother's eyes are green, 505 goosebumps. One day my friend scored tickets to a Prince concert, tiny venue. I was right behind the sound booth. Prince's entire band that evening were women. At the end of the show, the sound person turned around and whispered, he didn't play one song in his set list the whole night. I live on stages, y'all. I know what it is to scratch a plan, but not the whole trip and still arrive to your destination 200 years before your time. 421 artists formerly known as Goosebumps. But that's just the fancy stuff. Some of them came from simple facts. It rains diamonds on Jupiter. Blood donors in Sweden receive a thank you message when their blood is used. One night in Michigan, my friend, still undiagnosed, could not uncurl her fingers to strum her guitar, so she sang the chords instead. It was the first time in my life I'd seen pain become an instrument. 10 dozen goosebumps for each and every note, plucked from the string section of her refusal to silence her dream. After that, nothing in the world was gray. Even the movie of my past was released in color. The oldest man in my hometown could not get to the door to listen to our carols, so we went inside and sang at his bedside instead. 24 boots on the front step catching snowflakes with their tongue, 776 goosebumps. At one point, everything started doing it. A sincere apology, an enemy's love poem, the moon rising over the continental divide. My love and I thought it was a car driving off a cliff, and suddenly nothing in the world was dying. You ever felt that? A split second when nothing in the world is dying. 888 goosebumps. And the next day I sharpened a tiny axe so I could split the seconds myself. Too much lives in a moment to not feed it to the fire in the heart slow. A Missoula treehouse filled with candlelight, the octopus documentary, the biggest dog in the shelter hiding behind a teacup chihuahua, and the woman who came to adopt a cat, taking all three of them home, me and my home, 2 months into chemotherapy, watching all of my eyelashes fall on my cheekbones and realizing that was 400 wishes I wouldn't have made otherwise. There is no escaping the magic now. Beauty caught me and never let me go. And the thing about the world record is, if someone breaks it after me, oh, and they will break it after me, I will love that so much that without even trying, I'll just break it again. Thanks, y'all.
Oh, what a reading. Just let out a deep, I don't know. Do you feel that? Yeah, I can see. Oh, I can see. That's why you should all look around the Zoom room of this incredible energy. Andrea, thank you for breaking and putting everything back together.
Oh, great.
And now I have the difficult task of introducing the one and only Kai Coggin. And are there really words to capture someone like Kai, who opens her whole soul so wide, it brings us all together? A soul big enough to hold all of us, warm and light enough to ignite us, and kind enough to let us stay there in the home of her body, of her words. Kai, like her poems, mothers us all. She is the inaugural poet laureate of the city of Hot Springs and the author of 5 collections, most recently, Mother of Other Kingdoms. She is a certified master naturalist, a K-12 teaching artist with the Arkansas Art City Council, a host of the longest running consecutive weekly open mic night in the country, Wednesday Night Poetry, who I'm sure everyone in this room has been touched by in one way or another. Recently, she was awarded the Don Monroe Leadership in Arts Award, the 2021 Governor's Arts Award, and twice named Best Poet in Arkansas by the Arkansas Times. She lives with her wife in a wildlife sanctuary. I'm going to put the link so you can buy everything. But I just want to remind you that we're here to celebrate her newest book, which is at once an intimate act of love and care for every one of us and a collective act of tenderness for the whole world. Kai made Arkansas, a place I never dreamed I'd end up personally, feel like home. Kai makes every place where she is with you feel like home. The page and the air. I have been so lucky to be welcomed into her gorgeous home, to watch birds of every color flock there for food and safety, to feel the creative energy of love that she and Joanne build day in and day out. We are all so lucky to share this space to celebrate Kai. So I encourage you, everyone in this room, to write down a single moment, a single memory of Kai, and to thank her for all the ways that she and her poems have transformed us. We love you, Kai. You are that indigo bunting. You know, that bird I saw for the first time running in Arkansas and texted you immediately to say, what is this thing? It is a bird that feels as though the sky has fallen down right into your palm. And you are that lyrically stunning, that tangible, and at once absolutely unbelievable thing. You are magic and blue light, dear Kai. So please share that light with us.
Julia, that was so, so, so beautiful. And I'm not going to make you do it again, but it is my honor to introduce our fourth reader today, Angelique Zobitz, coming in from Chicago, Illinois, whose birthday it happens to be today. And I know that Andrea Gibson has that power. And if I were not muted, I would have been screaming and stopping you. And, but we all were just like, oh my God, all the goosebumps from Andrea. And it just, tumbleweeded and hurricaned into, yeah, all that beautiful love for me. And I love you. I hear it and I accept it. But I want Angelique's poems in here too. First, it is her birthday. I will not usurp the Earth Day birthday girl, shining like a golden, radiant daffodil, dandelion, all the things that pollinators love, right there in gold. So please, without further ado, before me, here's Angelique Zobitz. Let's do the host work and make her the spotlight. Thank you, Julia, for your beautiful words. Angelique, come on, baby.
Oh, okay. Well, no, look, we are here to celebrate you. So I am excited just to be in the room with all of you, with people that I dearly admire, and with Kai, who is very aware I love her very, very much. We have developed, no, please, Julia, do not be sorry at all. It is, we're in a room full of individuals whose works just transport us to a whole nother place. I myself, I would have been fine being skipped over just to hear everyone here. So I'm throwing that out there. Please, no sorries. I, in fact, just listening to everyone has been absolutely overwhelmed with the bounty within these poems, the voices, the intermingledness, the tenderness that exists. One of the things that touched me so much about Kai's Mother of Other Kingdoms is this. This is the answer to that prompt you gave. Tenderness is so important and necessary in this world. It should be our honor and our duty to mother the world around us in that verby way. And so one of Kai's incredible poems in his collection says, a mother is quietly building something out of nothing. And isn't that what Mother Nature and the world around us is doing? Isn't that what mothers do? Many of the poems in my works touch on mothers and Mother Nature, mother goddesses, forces of nature, healing and protection, what it means to be a mother embodied, and what would she say to us? So the first poem that I'm going to read is called Love Letters to the Revolution, which was a love letter to my daughter as I started to think about what legacy does she inherit and what do I give her. It is a cento and it combines the mother voices of Bell Hooks and Audre Lorde and just luminaries who grappled with those same questions, and Lucille Clifton, etc. I am going to read that to you, and this is embodied the mother world to the revolution. Little sister, nobody spoke to me about the moon or how to fashion a world that will hold all the people. These stains and scars are mine. So I will give you thunder, shatter your heart with rain, let snow soothe you, make your healing water clear, sweet, teach you to laugh and dance and sing and play and drink their wine and religion and success and outlast. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed. And you are your mother's child. Be who you are and will be. Learn to cherish that boisterous Black angel that drives you. Picture the daylight, bringing her to woods, full of birth moons, there you are. This second poem is called Transfiguration, or As the Spirit Is, So Follows the Body. My daughter and I used to lay in bed at night and we'd talk about, we'd hear the birds, chattering outside. We hear the crickets going. We lived off of a ravine, and we would imagine ourselves as part of this natural world, and who would we be if we could be any animal, any plant, etc. And so this is a poem that came out of that. It is included in Seraphim. At night, the revolution and I deliberate benefits of metamorphosis, the merits of inhabiting animal bodies, consider the gifts, and settle that to be a bird of prey, swivel neck, keen-eyed, with crushing beak and claw, a great horned owl would be best. We discussed whether we subsist only on crow or snake or juicy mouth or frog. Question if it's more fulfilling to crunch the bone or chew the rubber band tendons until they snap under the pressure of our attention than to peel the skin back and chew warm and pulpy the muscles of cold-blooded beasts. I've eaten frog and snake, yeah, mama? But mice and crow, I suppose I'd love to learn the taste. She nods her head and snuggles into my body. To her, I am the fiercest, hungriest animal. It is so tender and good. What is truth but what we have all agreed to believe? And then this last poem is recent. I recently lost my mother, and she was the individual who taught me how to connect to the natural world. My family, while I was born and raised in Chicago, we always say we're a little bit country. My family is originally from Louisiana. My grandmother grew up on farms, and it never went away. And this poem is about kind of what my mother taught me and our different explorations of nature. It is called Yaya and Salt, Teach Me Country. Yaya is a word that is used across the African diaspora, mostly in Congolese, which is one of my ancestral homelands, as well as Afro-Caribbean communities. It is a word for a woman who has went through a transformative experience and is considered a wise woman. My mother was a Yaya, her sobriquet, and that's what my daughter called her. And so Yaya and Salt teach me country. Mama loved salt and savory over sweet, people who were salt of the earth, folks who only spoke in salty language, olives, cured meats, pickled beets, drinks full of salt, martinis extra dry, and margaritas with a thick salt brim. When I was younger, she'd take us to the sea, held our hands as we walked us to the water's edge, all the while talking about salt and water, salinity, how rocks on land dissolve in sea and becomes salt, how rainwater that falls erodes the rocks, how those small drops of salt-laden dissolve are carried away to the river and stream, then ocean, how time concentrates salt into this soup, then again heated through the Gulf floor. We can taste what once existed in the salt. We inherit what's found in the water. And every swallowed mouthful is mineral, miracle, taste, birth, and demise. Salt could boil or bloat a body and a soul. My mama was never big on bottling up salt. She favored the letting go. A liberal sprinkle on the food, the brine of shrimp, mud bugs, and blue shell crab, the dash of salt over the shoulder, its superstitious spill over the feet. Saints preserve us, she'd say, as if saints carried salt shakers for our souls. Too much and not enough. Mama taught that revolutions past were built on salt. Also blood, also tears. Both are also where salt can be found. So when we cried and when we bled, she reminded us there is no waste of salt. We find it at the water's edge.
Thank you so much, Angelique. And rather than saying I'm sorry, I will just say thank you for understanding that I was so overwhelmed that I skipped my list. That was sensational. And what a fitting thing also on Passover, the salt, when we actually like drink the salt water to remember tears and to think about tears. Thank you so much. I won't give my introduction again to Kai, but I will just encourage you to jot down a line, something, because she will have access to the chat, a memory, something that Kai brings to your mind and in a way that she has transformed you, possibly while she reads, possibly just in general. And after Kai reads her work, you will get the chance to ask her questions if you would like, or some of the other readers, but to talk about the earth and mothering and miracle and all these things. Welcome, Kai Coggin.
Thank you so much, Julia. Thank you to my radiant chorus constellation that has been just amazing. I've been fangirling pretty much this whole first hour. Just so honored to share space together with you all, Nickole, James, Andrea, Angelique, and you all in the crowd, you festival family of poets, you gathering of light. Thank you so much for being here. There's so many people in the Zoom room that I love, and I just feel so held right now. I'm so thankful to Allison Blevins of Harbor Editions, who got me to this moment. My publisher sent me these flowers today. I'm thankful for my friends and my family that are in the room as well. My wife, who doesn't like poetry readings, but is here also, Joanne. Joanne painted the cover for Mother of Other Kingdoms. She's also painted 3 of my other books, and she is my every love poem, the muse of my life. So many of our poems that have been spoken sort of speak to each other. James, what you were saying about your husband, the awe of his awe, is just how I feel. I'm going to go ahead and get started. It's going to be a bit of a journey, and I thank you so much for giving me the space to launch these tender poems into the world on Earth Day today. It's Angelique's birthday, it's the Earth's birthday, and it's Ginghis's birthday. Genghis was my little friend. He's on the cover here. He was our little boy. So today's a really special and intentional day for me. He gave me the chance to be a mother. Priest of the invisible. The poet is the priest of the invisible. Wallace Stevens. It's like we walk around with magnifying glass over our eyes, amplifiers tied to our ears. This close listen, this peer into and hear the infinitesimal movement of cells reaching toward beauty, reaching toward light. And if we use our words to name it, to notice the unnoticed and make it holy with poem, we consecrate the mundane into the sublime, letter by letter, line by line. Petals. This morning, I ache to touch you. Outside, the wind is cold and rowdy, ripping spring buds off the trees with a degree of wildness that is reserved only for the natural. Between seasons, it is your name that holds me. The ground is littered with windswept petals. All I hear is she loves me, she loves me, she loves me. This poem's for Joanne. Knitting sweaters for hummingbirds. for Archilochus colubris. Can't talk, knitting sweaters for hummingbirds. These words actually came out of her mouth, and she was joking around in a rush of protecting every precious thing before a spring freeze cold front ultimately blew in. But it's not far off from how much she actually cares for all our winged, pawed, and hooved friends who share our peaceful valley. It's not beyond imagination compared to the close attention she gives to the every-colored birds, plants, flowers, trees, frogs, fawns, butterflies, bees, every little life out there that might secretly be voicing a need. It's like she hears them whispering to her in a vibration I cannot see. And while the snow falls on a freak winter-clashing spring day, I can picture the jewel ruby throats of hummingbirds, safe and warm, protected with the invisible tiny tweed turtlenecks her thoughts knitted in her dreams. This next poem, I came to America when I was 7 years old when my parents divorced. And my homeland is something that I've never really been able to hold. I don't really know what a homeland is. It's always been this fleeting thing. I was born in Bangkok. My mother was a Filipino, so raised on a rice farm in the Philippines. My father was an American journalist. And so home has always been an interesting concept for me. And this is a poem that sort of grapples with not having that homeland. It's called Shoreless in Asia, after Julia Kolchinsky. I left a country I have since forgotten, and another country that never held me as its own child. Two countries, like a forked tongue in a muted mouth. Two shores that slip away at every step toward, sand unbecoming, an oceaning underfoot. Only two words of those distant lands hold my cheekbone to the ground to listen. They whisper in erasure, awash. Mira, Thai for father, birthplace language where you were once mine. American journalist in Thailand, CIA spy, man with two families, undercover, body double dad, and yet a solid tree whose thigh I clutched onto the moment before you left us in your America without you. A tall tree of leaving, my hands gripped to your pant leg in desperate remember, deciduous, falling away completely. Mira, Dad, you are 12 years dead now. I whisper your fleeting names into the wind to meet the scattered ashes of your many faces. I meet my own face there. I'm a writer now, Dad. Are you proud? Bahay, Tagalog for home, another land, caribou tracks in Kalibungan fields and fields of rice. Sakahan, meaning farm, the family farm, sun on my uncle's dark faces, flip-flopped feet, the smell of wet grain, a pig roasting over the fire, Dela Cruz surname uncrossed, flies and laughing and heat, mother tongue, which I do not speak, my motherland, land of my mother. She calls me anak, child, and I cry in another language. I taste home with an American mouth, traded Bahay for assimilation. Nanay, mother, you gave up the Philippines for this American dream. We chased it and we caught it in our teeth. We were lost children together, all of us. I am older now than you were then, and still I am many nights a child. You and your two daughters, three small foreigners in a land we never knew until we called it home, with everything lost, with everything yet to lose. Clutch. I wrote this poem in Poetry Club, shout out to Poetry Club, and it's after Diane Seuss. I wrote it after reading Frank's sonnets. We all know about Frank. It won the Pulitzer Prize in 2022, in case you're not a poet. Diane Seuss will be featuring this Wednesday on virtual Wednesday night poetry. Tune in. And I got to show her this poem, and that was kind of an amazing moment for me. So this is Clutch after Diane Seuss. I drive to a playground and just listen to them laugh, watch as they spark conversations with each other, melt inside at imagination leading and questions not far behind. They glow outside of me, and my womb is an empty field of bleeding hearts. If there is truly the taste of regret stirred into this poem, it is warm milk leaking from my full breast into nothing's mouth. It is my arms formed into cradle, rocking no one back and forth, my lips mouthing silent songs, lullabying goodbyes to who was never born into hello. I drive to a playground, walk toward the whimsy of their day, sit on a small rusted horse on a fat metal spring and sway like a ghost. This is the lonely road of regret that leads to the grass underfoot of ache, the sigh of tomorrows empty of growing, the cycles of my uncreated children still sitting somewhere as stardust, hovering over me, waiting for the clutch of my hand to break through the sky. Under the table. This is about my first boyfriend. What? My first boyfriend was in 5th grade, I guess. Renee Luna. Luna like moon, like a dead planet, cold and empty. But at 11, I thought I would try boys before totally committing my life to the love of women, their softness. And he was left-handed, so we held hands in social studies under the table. I never even kissed him once. My best friend Carmen and his best friend Mark were a couple too, so it was a thing, this puppy love, more like puppy lost. And did I mention I never kissed him? And Carmen and Mark were probably running all the bases by that time while I hid in the batter's box, swinging at shadows. And I wouldn't say my first and only boyfriend ever was anything close to love, but more like a test drive of a car you know you don't want, this old clunker of a thing. And you take it out for a spin just to see that the steering is all wrong. And there's a weird smell, but he was a nice kid. And we held hands in social studies under the table, his right hand in my left, both of us diligently keeping our pencils moving so our teacher, Mr. Signs, wouldn't see. Under the table, secret, so no one else would see, especially Kelly Nelzine, whose blonde hair was so pretty. Bird watching. They should just call it stillness. Absolute stillness and lots of waiting. Absolute waiting and not moving really at all. So try to blend in. Wear clothes that fade into the background. Hide among bushes and behind the arms of low trees. Statue yourself. Act natural. Merge with it all. Find peace within yourself. I know it sounds new age, but it's true. Quiet your always turning, churning mind. Find calm. Find motionless. Sway if the trees are swaying, though. Move slightly with the breeze if it blows. Vibrate on their wavelength, not yours. Have your camera ready. Poised so that you do not have to lift it up to your eye, propped so that your arms are resting on something, balcony railing, windowsill, branch, knee, so that you don't have to move too much when a bright wonder ever so briefly flies into your frame. Account for wing speed. Hummingbirds will take an adjustment to unblur the whir of their hover. Enjoy the vibrant displays of cardinal, indigo bunting, grosbeak, goldfinch, oriole, the sparrows, titmouse, and doves too are beautiful. One in every few dozen photographs will be perfect. The others are just dances that have nothing to do with you. Thirst. For Colocasia esculenta. Something that I did in this book is that I highlighted the names of the species, their scientific names. And so it's been kind of a fun practice for me to learn how to pronounce all of these things. So I'm still working on it. This is for the elephant ear plant. Thirst, Procalocasia esculenta. This morning's wonder is brought to you by the way an elephant ear can hold a drop of water, as if in a wide green cup held in its own sentience. How it sits on the leaf in a perfect globe, unflinching in its wholeness, a sphere of light catching an early slant of sun rising. The drop does not roll away, does not disappear into the chlorophyll of it all, just holds steady in the elephant's impermeable insistence. Who notices these moments but the poets? Who takes the time to write lines of the way light shines through a single drop of water poised there on a morning leaf? Who sings the songs of these unheralded miracles but us minstrels, scribbling away in our quiet rooms, mumbling in our lonely corners, where we pray in poems that these miracles never cease to find us, our eyes and hearts open, thirsty for a single drop. Pipe organs inside a Japanese wind chime. Procalbion californium. My God, it's so hot everywhere. 17 million gallons of sewage just spilled into the ocean over breakfast. Redwoods, matchstick, and mountains weep charred snow. Another 21 wild species become history. Oceans rise from ice caps melting and calving into the sea, all while we pretend we're surviving these intersecting calamities. And reader, I just want to go outside, turn off the world breaking and listen as a metallic blue mud dauber wasp vibrates a song no one has ever heard but me. I swear it. Tenor of hope here inside the bellowing giant barrels of the precision-tuned Japanese wind chimes my mom gave us as a wedding present last year. And now, this maternally expecting, nesting, bright blue thing makes a tunnel of music inside a black metal pipe, singing a song of resilience in one of the higher chimes. If I had to guess, in the key of G, yes, here she is. Blue blur, building cradles of mud, creating a pipe organ inside her own church. This gorgeous buzzing and building, reverberating almost through the whole house, if you listen close enough. Powered in flight by the nectar of flowers. And don't you wish you could say the same thing about yourself? Honestly, I don't know where this poem is going. But today, the heartbreaks and disasters, both global and personal, are answered within this holy song, this tenor of building and buzzing, building and buzzing, building and buzzing, a mother's unseen labor, tuning fork of the universe funneled down into mud making, a tunnel to some kind of good light, a nest or something to vibrate through, be it sorrow, be it prayer, be it love, be it hope of making it to the other side of all this dark. Listen. I said, listen. Turn off the world breaking and listen. A mother is quietly building something out of nothing. The natural world still finds a way to sing. That was for you, Angelique. I've been feeding a monster for Arcaria stimulea. I've been feeding a monster. Saw the chomps taken from my fiddle leaf fig, and when I bent at the waist, as I do for closer inspection, there he was. Small-horned, verdant horse, saddleback caterpillar with his lime green saddle and brown spikes slowly slugging his way across the leaf's veiny interior. And reader, how could I not love him? In the larval stage, this becoming moth apparently is one of the most venomous caterpillars in the region. And I must have felt his aura of sting, his mosey of danger, when normally I would pretend my finger into twig and welcome the crawling thing into my palm. But his spikes screamed no. His alien face screamed no. His stark markings screamed no. His thorny tentacles screamed no. His bright saddle screamed, do not ride. Horns on both sides, and I could not hide my curiosity. I named him my little monster, endearingly. The spines on the saddleback caterpillar are fragile and will break off into a predator's body, even become airborne, embedding into surfaces, flying through the breeze like tiny poison darts. And within a few minutes, this little monster stole my heart. I brought a large-mouthed mason jar outside, stuffed 2 green ficus leaves into the glass, and taxied the little beast on the side of a leaf into his new temporary home. It's for science, I told my wife. I wanted to observe his quiet life, see him in stages, rejoice his instars, how even monsters can transform. After a day, I felt sad with him sitting alone in the jar, so I put him back on the ficus and gave him free rein to live in my houseplant outdoor summer forest as long as he wanted, searching daily for new chomps taken out of ficus flesh, half circles bitten through to light. I tendered his thorny tentacled protuberances, smiled when I found him some days on the underside of leaves, discovered discarded exoskeletons of growth until one day there was no spiky darling monster staring back at me. He's probably a moth now, doesn't even think about me, actually never did. Saddle gone, unbridled from his instars, wild little horse flying free. So I get pretty nerdy in this book. You know, I became a master naturalist a couple years ago now, and it really transformed the way that I navigate the world, the lens through which I see everything around me. And when Joanne and I went on a month-long road trip last August, like these national parks, it was the natural world, the nature that made us feel at home. Everywhere we went, we would find the nature, and those elements connect everything. No matter your geography, the natural world surrounds you. There are always bees and butterflies and trees and plants that can ground you. You can take your shoes off and walk barefoot in the grass and feel the earth that we are all on. And so becoming a master naturalist and learning about the species and really nerding out about these things has really informed just how I live now. And that specificity is what's so magical. Doing the research on the little tiny things, these infinitesimal beings, and finding out that they have their entire purpose, this grand design. They have their one tiny little aspect of themselves that taps into and works in coordination with this grand design that humans as a species hardly understands. So I just think that that's super fascinating, and I can just nerd out about all of that all the time. And with love for my wife, you know, she puts up with that and loves it and shares in the same sort of enthusiasm. She doesn't put up with it. We're equal in our nerdiness. And that's what's so cool. We can just go out in the world and talk about, you know, wildflowers. This poem is about that. It's called Intimacy. Late last night, I ran to you after writing. You were glistening and soapy in a bubble bath, and I read you my latest poem from the edge of the tub about how honeybees carry golden saddlebags of pollen on their hind legs, dipping face first into flowers, brushing off the dust of sex into their nectar-mixed purses heavy with hope. And you delighted in each tender line, splashing in the same wonder I had in writing the poem, your smile glinting like a pearl underwater. And I've never made love like this. Earnestly, I ask, wait, don't go. I don't care that there are 27, sometimes 28 years between us, my love. Our time together has been timeless. Our 16 years loving need at least 16 more. Please, don't go. Please wait somehow for me to age beside your aging, for my hair to whiten and gray against the day beside your gray, for my face to welcome lines of time the way your beautiful face has sketched the hours upon the corners of your eyes, your cheeks and mouth, your forehead, darling. Wait for me. I am still a fledgling elder in your shadow of wisdom and flight. A horizon lies on your hip bones, and my head is in your lap, asking, no begging. Please, wait, don't go. Black snake. For Pantherapus obsoletus. Driving home from the vet, where our old dog gets a ketamine injection for his chronic osteoarthritis pain, he and I drive by a large black rat snake, splayed, bloody, and writhing in the middle of our street. Halfway out of his misery, run over, his snake body glistening like an oil slick, his entrails trailing a bright red pool, organs green and fleshy, protruding, ghastly. I slow to check on the poor creature, roll the window down to see if he is dead or not. Thick life stopped short, and he moves, shapes, and coils his body into, I swear, a heart, a swirl, a sign he's still here yet unsalvageable. He lifts his head toward me, his round eyes meet mine, and I think of those cowboy movies where the gentle sheriff has to shoot his horse because it's broken its leg clomping through a rocky ditch. And do I carry this stark compassion in my bones? At the moment, no. I drive home, carry my old dog inside, and tell my wife of the black snake in the road. Is it suffering? Oh, Kai, it's suffering. She runs out the door, frantically paces the deck for a moment. How are you going to do it? I ask. Don't ask me that question right now. Tires skid reverse, and I walk inside, thinking of pleading snake eyes and a type of bravery that's unnamed. I look at Genghis, our old, sleeping, good boy. His eyes, drowsy from the ketamine, but the warmth and love in them still shine with the trust of a young puppy. His body curled into a heart. Crashing toward light. For Philurius truncatus. Here I write, in the summer of fire, in the year of drought, in the age of unreasoning, in a biosphere of bombing, in the epoch of endless suffering, what of this world is left for poems? Surely not this giant triceratops beetle ambling in the dark across my kitchen floor, his horns glinting some far-off light as I flip on the switch. Not his slow, steady walking toward some unseen extinction, some critical mass, not the glass I reach for, the stiff white paper, how I dome over and slide him into momentary captivity, coo at his Jurassic beauty, photograph him as he shines his glorious blackness. Does it become a poem when I see a spider web's stringy silk tangled on his barbed leg and across his face? Does it become a poem when I swirl the cotton candy webs off of him with a toothpick, clean him like he is mine before releasing him back into the wild night? Lately, I have been bathing small creatures like some residue of being a childless mother. A muddy baby green anole lizard the other morning with the mist of a garden hose as he curled in my hand. Now this prehistoric present sweet beetle stealing my heart. Google says the Triceratops beetle, also called the loving scarab, crashes toward light, flies with a force toward all that is bright and warm. What a way to live or die, crashing toward light. Things I love about this generation of queer kids. I love their courage. I love their refusal of closets. I love their chosen names. I love their use of the singular they pronoun. I love their blurring of binaries. I love their honesty. I love that they go to therapy and work to heal themselves like we never did. I love their healing, how it somehow heals backwards through generations. I love that they set boundaries and choose families. I love their hairstyles and hair color, how they change like mood rings. I love the pride they wear on their backpacks, their scrunchies, their clothes, their pins, their eyelids. I love their fierce goodwill thrift store outfits. I love that they are not afraid to love each other. I love their tenderness and vulnerability. I love their empathy, how deeply they feel. I love their freedom, the freedom that my generation wished for, the freedom that our queer elders and gay trailblazers dreamed up in the quiet temptations of generation, in the isolations of closets and shadow, in the black trans women-led riots of Stonewall, in the breaking apart of families, in the deathbeds of AIDS lovers, in the bright, bold colors of the pride flag, in the kisses, mouth to mouth, man to man, woman to woman, in the revolutions in film, poetry, art, music that named us real. These movements line the path with scattered rainbow flowers for this generation of queer kids to follow into their hopeful futures. I love their hopeful futures, thinking of them grown up and how the world will be better just because they are living in it. I love their inability to be brought down by the outdated thinking of adults. I love their inclusion and sensitivity. I love their passion, their protest, their fight. I love their loud, brave voices demanding what's right. I love that they are the fruits of so many trees and that in each of their eyes, I see a little piece of me. I got just a couple more. Tender and ache. For Apis mellifera. Tender and ache. I am an exposed bloom, a dandelion head with almost every wish blown away, still standing in an empty field with hope of fruiting a dream. Can you see why I mother every possible thing? Why the world becomes my womb and my hands a desperate sanctuary? I rescued a bumblebee from between the window pane and plastic sheeting of the greenhouse, a big bear of a bee, fuzzy and stunned on the brink of untimely death. Who knows how long he waited for rescue? I cupped his slow body in my hands and walked out to the lilac tree laden with blooms and laid him inside a cluster of heavy scented petals. If you die, at least die happy inside here, okay, friend? I said to him, and his weakened bee arms clutched around the soft white flowers as though he was hugging them so tightly. Then stillness. I checked on him every hour while I gardened, and in a few hours he buzzed by me on my way to the lilac. I'm alive! A heavy song of thanks, a flight line of gratitude. This is how I mother. I rock the smallest species to sleep. Lullaby our deepest human apologies into their innocent ears. That same day, 5 million honeybees being shipped to Alaska to pollinate orchards on ice shelves were rerouted by Delta Airlines. They waited on a hot tarmac in Atlanta for hours. Hot Atlanta, record-breaking heat, the Weather Channel meteorologist joked. The bees died in droves, lifeless yellow-black piles, bodies by the crateful, 800 pounds of dead honeybees, an oversight, lost in the machinery of luggage and transit, moved and left to swelter and starve. 5 million bees, and no lilacs to save them. No open hands, no sweet-petaled embrace, no song of forgiveness whispered into their golden, honeyed hives, just the tragic end of 5 million precious pollinating lives. Tender and ache. My mother, nature, heart breaks into 5 million pieces. I stand in a field and buzz with morning. No choice. Since the Supreme Court land grabbed our bodies back to 1973, I've been searching for wounds inside other lives, asking if they know they have more freedoms than human bodies who can carry a child. I scream inside the deep wells of certain flowers, purple columbine, golden bells, red hibiscus, a floating white lotus, all with their impervious blooming, their wildness, their capability to wither at the whim of wind. I Google female sex organ of a flower and laugh at the irony of the word pistil, how a pistil in the flower kingdom carries an ovary and a stigma that has no shame, but in the human names, an ovary has the stigma of men's desires, and a pistil has less regulation than my womb. An AR-15 assault rifle in a classroom has more autonomy than the little girl it just blew bullets through. My heart keeps breaking at this country. I plead for light into the 1,000 faces of a mammoth sunflower, and they bow their pitying heads, set 1,000 suns. I sit on my deck among the mourning doves cooing in the pine, and I too mourn what I thought was mine. This body, this skin and cells, this flesh, this bone. I am beyond mothering. No, my body will never home or vessel a child, but this red state will bleed redder still with the trigger band signatures of these scheming leaders enforcing an unholy law that strips us all of our dignity and ability to do what is right and best for our own damn bodies. I scream into my valley and my mountains scream back. I clip my fingernails and these little crescent moons ask me about ownership. Which cells of mine have been sold to the highest bidders? Which organs no longer do my own bidding? In 2 weeks, I will become Auntie Kai to a little girl, Luca, a niece born into a world where she has more protection in her mother's womb now than she will when she comes out. Little girl, what is this world we have shaped for you when you have no choice but to be born into it? Amber, for Ficus carica. Hold on. Are we going to read that one? I may have skipped one. That's okay. Okay, I've got 2 more. Amber. This is a poem about a fig. Or figs. Amber, for Ficus carica. It's golden hour in our valley, and I walk through late summer's dry grass to our fig tree, peek under yellowing leaves in search of the heavy sweetness hanging purple and thick. Like the smallest leather punching bags, I find them one by one, ready, weighted with their honeyed song, rouged with the bruising of being made ripe in the shortening days. There is no tug needed from my fingers as I find each laden fruit. Each fig waits to fall into my hands. Through their soft skin bottoms, tiny amber droplets of candied nectar harden in the crisp autumnal air. And when I hold one up against the backdrop of the setting sunshine, a halo of amber light hugs the shadowed underbelly, sticky and plump in my palm. Is anyone else noticing this level of intrinsic beauty right now? Who else is holding a fig up to the sun, caught in the amber droplets of decadence radiant with heliotropic breath. I must name this sweetness as the world burns, must hold it in the memory of words. I bring the supple handful up to my love, this bounty of palpable pleasure, 3 for her, 3 for me. We bite into their supple, dark flesh, suck and crunch the tiny seeds, rush of honey, natural sugars, textures of collapsible summer rain, an earth of seasons held in a silken bag, like tasting each other again for the first time. And this is my final poem. Thank you all for hanging on. It's not that I can't have children. It's not that I can't have children, that my body is not a house. It's just that my life never had the chance to make room, did not open in a way to make itself a womb. The timing of years between my lover and mine, the age of different periods of mothering, inclining, and deepening at the same time. There just was never the solid enough ground of myself, or the chance even. A man was not in the cards, and I never even played from that deck, so it never really became a possibility. And I am almost at the apex of this want, this deep yearning to hold a child of my own flesh and bone, to make my body a home. But perhaps that proverbial ship has sailed, and the life that I have created is the life that I have, the life that I love. Perhaps my womb has turned outward somehow, and my heart is fertility itself. Perhaps I've always been a mother without a human child, searching for my children in the trees, in the understory of ancient forests, hidden under smooth stones, in warm fur-covered bodies, in wing tuft and claw, in the exoskeletons of nymphs, phylums that lack a sort of mothering I can give, so I tend to the wild ones. I mother other kingdoms, rock every other species to sleep, the green and howl and pulse and bloom. It's not that I can't have children, it's that I already do. Thank you so much, friends, loves, poets, everyone out there listening. Thank you so much for helping me bring these poems into the world. I love you. I'm so thankful. Whew,
Here's our gallery view of everyone. What an incredible, incredible evening. I'm unmuting our readers.
Eloise.
And letting Kai just say hello to all of your beautiful faces.
Eloise,
Celebrating
Liz,
her.
Amy, Allison, Karen, Dan, Regina.
Caroline,
thank
look at
you
your
all
cute
so
puppy.
much.
If anyone has questions that they want to share with Kai, I know you're sharing so much love in the chat, but if you have a question for Kai about the composition of the book or anything else that you just want to ask her, you know, the time is here for you to ask. Or
No hard questions, please. Thank you so much just for going on that journey with me.
Can I start? I'll ask you a question while
Okay.
people are thinking and sharing love for you. In writing this book and these incredible poems, what was the moment that surprised you most of all? Is there like a moment or an image or anything that you arrived at that was most surprising?
These poems were poems that I kept really close to my chest, that I wrote mostly for myself, that I thought were too tender to put into the world, until I realized, like, after 3 or so books of being like a resist and poetry and, you know, a warrior and, you know, I hate Trump, all those things, like fighting against tyranny, you know, in my poetry and being very loud about that. I needed some healing and some rest and some renewal. And so writing and putting together these poems and gathering them all back up from, from the spaces that they were hiding, was a practice in healing for me. And then when I saw it start to come together, and when I was finding the through lines, it just really became such a moving process, and I healed myself by writing them and putting them together. And so I thought that maybe someone else might need this type of reflection, this perspective of looking at the world, of noticing, of slowing down. Everything around us is on fire. Everything around us is dark, and there's wars, and I mean, we know we're poets, we're sensitive, but there's still so much beauty. There's still so many miracles that are happening without even us knowing, or without us having anything to do with them. That's the coolest thing. They're going on despite us, and so this book has been kind of focusing on those things, and it's been a surprising thing that people are so moved by these poems, that they're not used to poems like this, and so different for many people. And I realized that I'm so lucky to be a master naturalist, to live in this like literal wildlife sanctuary where I can stare at bugs for an hour, and like that's a privilege for me. And I don't take that lightly, but I want to be able to share that, because I know that most people don't have that sort of time. They have kids, they work, all those things. And so because I want to give it to you, I don't know, I'm rambling now. I'm rambling. I lost the thread, but I know it's there. It's in the book. I left it in the book.
So this is not a question, but it's a comment, and I think it's, having read the collection from start to finish, I had an opportunity to blurb Kai's book, and it was just a revelation. It was like taking a long walk by yourself through the woods and taking a deep breath, knowing all of the things that were still going on, but taking that moment just to soak in beauty, to be awed by things. It is an incredibly necessary book in this time, and I absolutely implore folks to check it out, because you will come back to it again and again and again. This line that just absolutely stuck with me, where she says that mother is quietly building something out of nothing, and that natural world still finds a way to sing. It just sticks with me. I think about it every other day. It's the resiliency and harmoniousness that she brings together. It's incredible. I just have to say that. I just love every bit of it.
Thank you so much, Angelique. Thank you for taking the time and being one of the first people to hold these poems in your heart. I just appreciate you so much. And y'all check out Angelique's book, Seraphim, which came out also during April National Poetry Month. It's a beautiful collection. Bright, beautiful, like Angelique. Thank you, sis.
Well, on that note of love, I would like to thank all of you for being here, for sharing in the light that Kai and all of the readers, Angelique, Nickole, James, Andrea, all of you have brought by their books, buy them from small bookstores, because as we know, small book distributors are just going, and we want to support small presses. So please buy directly from indie books, indie presses. All the love for all of you. Enjoy.
Can I say one more thing?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Can I say, Nicole Callahan is in the room, and she also took these poems into her heart and wrote the foreword for this book. And there's kind of a call to action in this book, and it's, do you want to play outside with me? And she said she does. There's a poem in this book called Do You Want to Play Outside? And I accidentally skipped it and then couldn't find it, but that's the call to action, is to go outside, to live with that childlike wonder and look at things in a different way despite everything that's going on. It can be just 5 minutes. It can be 2 minutes. It can just be like pausing and looking out the window. Something will happen. Something will cross your path. And then when you start moving through the world like that, you can't stop seeing. You can't stop seeing the wonder and the little jumping spider that jumped onto my book while I was reading outside today. It's everywhere. Nature is everywhere, and they are trying to survive us and with us and through us. So it's important for us to amplify their voices. So play outside, look closely, slow down, hug a tree, hug your friends, hug your pets, all those things. Thank you so much, Julia, for holding space tonight for this launch. I love you so much. I can't thank you enough, and I'll thank you forever, especially on Passover. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for hanging on. I love you all. I'll see you on Wednesday at Virtual Wednesday Night Poetry. If you're there, be square. Love you.
Thank you, Kai.
Bye.